1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Hi everyone, and welcome to my booktube channel. I'm C1 and I love to read. So today I thought we would do 24 books that I want to read in 2024. This is a mix of nonfiction, fiction, poetry, ebooks, and audiobooks that I have. So without further ado, let's get started. I'm going to start with the nonfiction. First up, we have Splitting, the Inside Story of Headaches by Amanda Ellison. This is what it sounds like. It's about why we get headaches, kind of the root causes of headaches, how our diet and exercise affects headaches, all of the factors that go into headaches. And as someone who gets a lot of headaches, this is very interesting to me. The second book is Fed Up by Gemma Hartley, Emotional Labor, Women, and the Way Forward. This is about how women take on the bulk of emotional labor and what we can do about it. Third, The Myth of Normal by Gabor Maté. I love Maté's work. I think it's really, really fascinating, especially as a neurodivergent person myself. And this is a holistic look at illness and how illness is bred in our society and, you know, what is normal really? What is a baseline of health, of mental well-being? My fourth book is Loving Music Till It Hurts by Cheng. This is about the abuse of power within the music industry, specifically the classical music industry. It's centered around the idea that we put artists on pedestals and excuse them from basic decency, basically, because they're good at what they do. A Harvey Weinstein situation, if you will. So I love Cheng's work. I find it really fascinating. He does a lot of intersectional musicology, so I'm really excited to read this book. Next up is Draw Your Weapons by Sarah Sentiels. This is about art and the power of art to change the world. The inside jacket says, "How to live in the face of so much suffering. What difference can one person make in this beautiful, imperfect, and imperiled world?" My last nonfiction book is Disfigured by Amanda Leduc on fairy tales, disability, and making space. I actually read this on ebook a year or two ago, but ironically don't remember any of it because I was having a massive flare at the time, and nothing that I do or consume during a flare gets encoded to long-term memory. So I'm excited to pick this up again. Moving on, I've got 3 poetry books here. The first is Margaret Atwood's Dearly. I don't have much to say about this other than I love Margaret Atwood, and I'm just really excited to read this. My next book is also poetry. It's Watermarks by Joanne Page. I picked this up at a secondhand bookstore mostly because I loved the cover, to be honest. But I've read a couple of poems from this and think that the language is very compelling. The images are really beautiful, and I'm excited to read this. Next, I have Magic Animals by Gwendolyn McEwen, another poetry collection. It says Selected Poems Old and New. This is another one I got at a secondhand store, and I'm not familiar with any of this author's work, so I'm excited to dive in. Okay, next I have a massive stack of fiction, and we are going to start with Crumbs by Dani Stirling. This is actually a graphic novel, and I am not really a graphic novel person. I'm not really a visual person, so this is kind of new territory for me. But the illustrations look really, really cute, and I've heard really good things about this book, so I'm excited to read it. My 11th book is Gravemaidens by Coon. So this book is a fantasy. It's about a dying monarch, and every time the monarch dies, 3 girls are chosen to be sacrificed to go into the afterlife with him, and it's considered this great honor. And the protagonists sister gets chosen, and she's very excited, while the protagonist sees this as what it is, a death sentence. So it's about her trying to save her sister. I confess I tried to read this a few months ago, and I got like 20-25 pages in, and I just wasn't really feeling it. I don't know if that was me or the book, but I'm gonna give it another chance and get through it in 2024. Next up, I have The Secret of Clouds by Alyson Richman. This is a contemporary novel about a young couple who escape their native Kiev and immigrate to America, and their son is born with a disability that isolates him from other children. And it's about the tutor that they hire for him, who comes and tutors him despite being haunted by her own past. And it's about the bond that forms between the child and the tutor. My 13th book is Hidden Pictures by Jason Rekulak. This is a thriller, so again, kind of new territory for me. And I don't want to spoil it for myself. I kind of just want to go in blind. So I'm not even going to read the inside cover. And that's all I have to say about that. Number 14 is Eucalyptus by Murray Bale. This is a modern fairy tale. A girl and her father live on a eucalyptus farm, and when she's 19, her father announces a contest. She will marry the man who can successfully name each tree. What emerges is a story scintillating with sudden wisdom and spiky truths, a modern-day fairy tale that affirms the seductive power of storytelling itself. So this really sounds like a book for people who love books, who love stories. So I'm excited to read this one, and I love fairy tales, so... Next up is The Color of Air by Gail Tsukiyama. This is a story about an immigrant community and their bond and the way that their surroundings challenge them and how they rely on each other to get through it. Number 16 is A Minor Chorus by Billy Ray Belcourt. This book is about a man, an unnamed narrator, who moves to Alberta to write his autobiography. And the little quote on the back of the book is, "I wanted to take a sledgehammer to the past to let in the shimmer of a light I didn't know was there all along." Next, Lesley Crewe's Amazing Grace. This is about a woman who lives alone, and suddenly her estranged son calls her and is having problems with his teenage daughter and is asking for her help. Next up is another Canadian read. This is Jane Urquhart's Sanctuary Line. This is about a woman who moves to her family's farm where she spent summers as a child. She's a scientist. She studies the migratory patterns of monarch butterflies, and this is a story about the history of her family. Number 19 is The Oxford Widows' Murder Club by Bruce Graham. This, despite the title, is apparently a comedy. It's about 3 women and the ways in which they were all connected to this deceased man. I love books where the characters are all connected by one thing, so I'm excited to read this. Okay, my last physical book is a gift from my friend, and it is Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert. This is a romance, and the main character is actually chronically ill, so we love the representation, and my friend who gave this to me is also disabled, so I'm really excited to read this and to report back to her. Moving on to ebooks that I have, I've got The Land of Lost Things by John Connolly. This is a sequel to my favorite book of all time, The Book of Lost Things. And I didn't know that there was a second book until I was just scrolling on Amazon on the books, and I saw that I could purchase this for $4. This is probably going to be my first new read of 2024 because I'm very excited about it. Next is The Witch's Lens by Luanne G. Smith. This is set during World War I, and it's about this girl, this witch, who discovers that she can actually capture the souls of the dead on camera. My last ebook is Emma Donahue's Learned by Heart, and this is a historical fiction based on a true story about Anne Lister and Eliza Reign and how they fall in love and the things that keep them apart. I've read Room, also by Donahue, and it scared the crap out of me. It was terrifying. It's so realistic. But I really enjoyed it nonetheless, so I'm excited to read this one. My last book is an audiobook. This is The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. And I actually don't know anything about this book, and I'm not planning to look it up. I just want to go in blind and hopefully have a good time. I read The Humans by Matt Haig this year, and I loved it. It was absolutely one of my top reads of 2023. So I'm hoping that I really enjoy The Midnight Library as well. So that is it for my 24 books that I want to read in 2024. I did not realize how many books 24 is until now. Let me know what you're reading in 2024 and if we have any of the same books on our TBRs. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!